What's going on, everybody? Today I want to share with you some of my favorite places in the state of Colorado. Home to the Rocky Mountains, the Mile High Broncos Stadium, and more adventures than you can ever imagine. I have a travel guide on the top 10 hikes in Rocky Mountain National Park and the top 25 hikes and places to visit in Colorado, but both of those lists are hyper-specific and catered more to hikers and climbers. This list is going to be the best overview of the state and the 10 places you can't miss in your lifetime if you live here or travel here. It'll be more of an iconic Colorado bucket list that will include all of the classics. And if you don't mind, before we start, it'd mean the world to me if you could give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, but otherwise let's dive right in. This is my top 10 places to visit in Colorado. First up is going to be the most famous national park in the state, and that is Rocky Mountain National Park. This is located about 90 minutes northwest of downtown Denver and about 2 hours from Denver International Airport. You can visit from the town of Grand Lake on the southwest side of the park or the town of Estes Park on the east side of the park. The Estes Park side is my personal preference. Rocky Mountain National Park has a wide variety of things to do, including hiking, rock climbing, fishing, scenic driving, and it's also home to Long's Peak, which is the most iconic 14,000-foot mountain in the state. It is one of 58 14ers, but it's the only one in the national park. If you're looking for some easy roadside accessible spots or places that don't involve hiking, you should check out Lily Lake, Bear Lake, and Trail Ridge Road. Trail Ridge Road is actually the highest continuous paved road in all of North America, topping out at 12,183 feet above sea level. And if you're looking for some easy hikes, you can check out Mills Lake, Dream Lake, and Emerald Lake. And then if you're looking for some big adventures and full day outings, you should consider Lake Hayea, Chasm Lake, Sky Pond, Hallett Peak, and Long's Peak 14er via the Keyhole hiking route. More details on this park can be found on my top 10 Rocky Mountain National Park hikes video, and that'll include a lot more hyper-specific details with trail specs and everything else you need to know for these hikes. Next up is going to be both Telluride and Ouray, which are arguably the most beautiful towns in the state. It's hard to pick just one. Geographically, the towns are around 10 miles away from each other, but due to the roads and mountains between, the drive between them is about 1 hour. For Telluride, there's one road in and one road out, and Ouray sits at the base of the $1 Million Highway Drive, so the views will be never ending. Telluride is a great place for skiing and snowboarding, and in the summer there's a handful of awesome hikes to do, including the iconic Kroger Via Ferrata with beautiful views of Bridal Veil Falls. As for Ouray, year-round this place is paradise. It's dubbed the Switzerland of America because you are surrounded by Rocky Mountains in every single direction. Ouray has great hikes, waterfalls, slot canyons, some 14ers, beautiful off-road trails, a Via Ferrata, and some of the most famous ice climbing in the country. There's a never-ending amount of things to do in both of these towns, and they are amazing year-round. At number 3, we have the Royal Gorge. This is going to be one of the most family-friendly locations on this list. The gorge is a large canyon of the Arkansas River and is located in Canyon City, Colorado, which is just 45 minutes west of Pueblo and 2 hours from downtown Denver. The Royal Gorge Railroad is the best way to explore this canyon in my opinion. They have different tickets, classes, and experiences, including a ride and dine option. Tickets range from roughly $80 all the way up to $300 based on the experience you book. The Royal Gorge is also home to America's highest suspension bridge that you can walk across. It's a 956-foot drop to the Arkansas River below. This is a great place for adventure, family-friendly excursions, or a Colorado staycation. At number 4, we have Great Sand Dunes National Park, which is arguably the best sand dunes in the country. The visitor center sits at an elevation of 8,170 feet above sea level, making the dunes sit at a very high altitude. Let's be honest, hiking on deep soft sand is miserable, so mixed with the altitude, it's not an easy feat to hike the trail to High Dune. High Dune is a hike to the tallest dune in the park, and it's 3 miles round trip with 629 feet of elevation gain, but it feels much longer because every single step sucks. Nonetheless, it's an awesome hike and you should definitely do it if you're visiting here. Another great activity to do is to sandboard, which is essentially snowboarding on sand. You can bring your own or you can rent these boards just outside of the park. The sand dunes are also backed by a few Colorado 14ers in the Sangre de Cristo range, making the views extra special because you can typically come here and see the sand dunes, and in the background you can see snow-capped Rocky Mountains. Next up is one of my favorite day trips from Denver, and that is Mount Evans. Mount Evans is one of Colorado's 58 14,000 foot mountains. It stands tall at 14,265 feet above sea level, and you can drive all the way to the top. From Denver, you will drive roughly 30 minutes to Idaho Springs along I-70, take the exit for Mount Evans, and then drive 20 minutes to Echo Lake. And from here, you're going to pass the entrance station, and then it's another 40 minutes to reach the summit parking lot. Because of the road, it'll be around 90 minutes from Denver total, because you're going to gain almost 10,000 feet of vertical gain on the drive. Mount Evans is not open year-round, but as soon as it opens up in the end of May, it's something everyone should do. You do need vehicle reservations, but they're relatively easy to get on recreation.gov's website. And if you have an annual National Parks Pass, it's only $2 for the booking fee, otherwise it is $17 without the pass. I like Mount Evans because it's so accessible and it allows visitors that are unable to hike or visitors from other states that are flying in the ability to experience a 14er. The altitude is no joke, and if you're flying here from sea level, it's not the smartest thing to try and hike a 14er, so this is a great alternative because you get the same views and you get to experience a 14er without doing it. If you are looking to hike Mount Evans though, you can do so from Summit Lake, climbing route on the Blackwall, or the Sawtooth Ridge from Bierstadt 14er next door. One last thing to note here, in the summer, it can be up to 100 degrees in Denver, but because of the altitude, it could be below freezing at the summit, so make sure to check Mountain Forecast weather before you go. While we travel across all of Colorado's hotspots, I'd like to tell you about the Professional Photographers of America, or PPA. This is a nonprofit I've been working with for the last 2.5 years. Being a member with PPA means you get up to $15,000 of camera gear and equipment insurance, as well as data loss, negligence, and malpractice protection through their indemnification trust, and you get customizable contracts, brochures, and price lists. Now, if you're a photographer or filmmaker, this is a no-brainer, and you should sign up down below to take your business to the next level if you haven't already. But what if you're just a traveler who has a camera and likes to take photos for fun? Well, did your camera cost thousands of dollars? Probably. Do you have multiple lenses, memory cards, a camera bag? Things can get stolen, things can drop, a tripod can fall, so many things can happen. Membership with PPA goes far beyond just commercial photographers, and it's something I recommend to everyone who owns a camera and anyone looking to grow or start a creative business. If you'd like to get $25 off your PPA membership, you can sign up at the link in the description. This is a great way to support me, my partners, and it might just even save you some future headaches. Next up is Garden of the Gods in Colorado Springs, which is just under an hour and a half from downtown Denver. Surprisingly, there's no fee to enter the park. This place could easily be a state park, so it's pretty awesome that you can come here for free. Garden of the Gods is backdropped by Pikes Peak, and we'll talk more about that later, but it is another one of the Colorado 14ers. The contrast between the red rocks of Garden of the Gods and the snow-capped Rocky Mountains in the back is amazing. Garden of the Gods is a great place for photography, a walk, hike, or trail run, having a picnic, and also rock climbing. One of my favorite multi-pitch climbing routes here was on Kindergarten Rock. It's called New Era, and I've done it a few times with my buddy Aavron. This is an awesome spot and it can't be missed if you're traveling to Colorado. It's a super easy day trip from Denver. Next up at number 7 is Maroon Bells, one of the most iconic and recognizable views in the whole state. Located just 10 miles away from Aspen, this is a beautiful place to spend the day at. It's one of the most popular destinations in Aspen, so you will need a parking permit or you'll need to park in town and reserve a ticket for the shuttle. Maroon Bells is extremely accessible and very family friendly, but there's also much to do for the adventurous soul. The lake viewpoint is also the trailhead to climb a few 14ers here: Maroon Peak, North Maroon Peak, Pyramid Peak, and Snowmass Mountain. And you can also do the 4-pass loop backpacking trip from here. Maroon Bells might be the most special during fall foliage, where the colors of the aspens all turn yellow and it is just beautiful in every single direction. If you're looking to hike but you don't quite want to commit to one of these Class 3 or Class 4 14ers, a great short hike here is Crater Lake. So to get here, tickets for the shuttle are $16 per person, with kids under 12 and seniors above 65 only being $10 per ticket. It's very easy to get a ticket online, but I highly recommend getting this ahead of time because it does sell out, especially on weekends. At number 8, we have Glenwood Springs, and this is an incredible weekend trip for anyone in the Denver area. Glenwood Springs is a resort city known for its hot springs surrounded by White River National Forest, and the town has boomed in growth over the years and just gets bigger every single time I visit. There are now multiple hot springs resorts, a gondola that takes you to the top of Iron Mountain, an adventure park, and so much more. When driving here from Denver, it's going to be a 2.5-hour drive, so it's possible to visit here on a day trip, but like I said, it's much better to do this as a weekend getaway. The last 30 minutes of the drive are going to be incredible, and while you're driving on I-70, you're going to go straight through Glenwood Canyon, which is just stunning. Inside the canyon, there's a beautiful hike called Hanging Lake, and it feels like a scene out of Croatia's Plitvice National Park. Cascading waterfalls that flow into a pristine green pool and then down into the canyon, it's quite the sight. If you hike the 3.1-mile trail with around 1,200 feet of elevation gain, you will need a permit, but it's worth it, and you'll also get to see Spouting Rock Waterfall. I will say though, for the hot springs themselves in Glenwood, the pools are incredible and I'm always going to love it here, but they're somewhat commercial, so if you want to know where my favorite hot springs in the whole state are, that's down south in Pagosa Springs, which is home to the deepest hot spring as well. Next up, we have Black Canyon of the Gunnison and Mesa Verde. These are two very underrated Colorado national parks. Typically, they're in the shadows of Rocky Mountain. However, they are amazing. The two parks are a 3-hour drive away from each other, but I included them together on this list because they're great locations to visit on the same trip. Also, both of these parks can be visited in one day, as most of the places to see are overlooks that you park right at, and there's just not a ton of hiking needed to see the best of these parks. Mesa Verde is known for its well-preserved ancestral Puebloan cliff dwellings, and Black Canyon is known for its painted wall, which is the tallest cliff in Colorado and the third tallest in the lower 48 states of the country, just behind El Cap in Yosemite and Notch Peak in Utah. The painted wall is 2,250 feet tall from the top of the rim to the bottom of the river, and for comparison, the Empire State Building is only 1,250 feet. So this wall is 1,000 feet taller than the Empire State Building. At number 10, we have Pikes Peak that I briefly mentioned earlier. This is dubbed America's Mountain, and it's located in Colorado Springs and Manitou Springs. Colorado Springs is just about an hour from Denver, but if you want to drive to the summit of the mountain, it is going to take 2.5 hours. It's similar to Mount Evans 14er because of the twists and turns in the road and the elevation gain. It does take some time to drive. Mount Evans and Pikes Peak are the only two 14ers in the whole state that you can drive to the top of. Pikes Peak is 14,115 feet above sea level. You can drive right to the top, or you could take the Cog Railway, which is a fun and scenic train ride here. There's also two ways to hike to the summit, via the Crags Trail or the famous Bar Trail. The Bar Trail starts parallel to the incline, which is a very famous Colorado hiking trail and challenge. I actually just recently hiked Pikes Bar Trail, and while it's super easy terrain, the specs are no joke. It is 25 miles round trip with 7,500 feet of elevation gain. So you're essentially doing a marathon where you climb almost 8,000 feet, and all of this is at high altitude. Pikes Peak is also a great place for rock climbing and mountain biking, and once you're at the summit, you need to try their world famous donuts. I just had them for the first time, and they were unreal. Pretty commercial and touristy here, but for good reason, and I definitely recommend Pikes to everyone. And last up is a quick little bonus, and that's going to be Colorado National Monument in Grand Junction, which is a 4-hour drive away from Denver, right next to the Utah border. I like to think of this monument as Colorado's own little Moab area, as it's very similar in its Utah-like landscapes. Colorado National Monument is a 23-mile scenic rimrock drive that'll take you to breathtaking overlooks, beautiful desert rock buttes, canyons, and some great trailheads if you're looking to hike. Anyways, that's going to wrap up this video. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you found some new ideas for your next trip from Denver or your next vacation to Colorado if you're flying in. Again, it would mean the world to me if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel. I have so many other travel guides, top 10s, and hiking vlogs on the channel, so I hope to see you guys later, but thank you so much for watching.